Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gloucester channel. I am here today with a familiar face, Jannene Howse. We did several interviews a few months ago for the Gloucester channel. She's back here with us today. How are you doing today, Jannene?
Good, eventually.
I'm very happy to see you again, but I must say we are living in a brave new world. We're in uncharted territories. There is a lot of uncertainty around. There's a very strange vibe in the air. Times are different. No one has ever really experienced anything like what's going on at the moment. And I'm not just talking about locally, I'm talking about worldwide, as I'm sure you know. Now, as I said, we are living in some very strange times, and you're here to speak to us today about a transition of time. And I was wondering if you could give us a few more details of what this is exactly about. I can see you put up some detailed notes on a whiteboard there. Perhaps you could lead us through what is happening at the current time.
Yeah, sure, Robert. What I'm hoping to offer people today is a bit of an orientation to the idea of time. So we don't get a lot of an orientation in our media and in the educational system, everywhere in our culture. And now that ID 2020 has come and gone and we're living in this crazy new world, upside down world, everybody's wanting to get a handle on understanding what has happened and what is coming, and I'm here to sort of help explain that and hopefully help to orientate people to what's going on. So we've got a lot that we can cover. I have had nearly 35 years experience in studying prophecy, but also in studying the powers, the geopolitical powers, and it just so happens that my research dovetailed into explaining what happened in 2020, and in fact I had a warning about that based on this historical template that I've got here on the board, and based on that and my connection with God actually called me to give this message, and he was telling me to go and warn people in 2019 that this attack was coming. And I had an experience where I had many amazing experiences in 2019, including meeting the Chief of Staff of the White House and sitting down and explaining this repeating code to him, and giving him an idea of what was coming, and he said he would alert the intelligence agencies. So that's what I'm hoping to do today, is just to give people an orientation to time, an orientation to the codes, an orientation to the power that has just transitioned. So we are under a new power, and I'm going to explain what's going on. However, the good news is that what they've done is completely illegal, and it has been done by stealth, and we need to stand up for our rights. So just because this has happened, it doesn't mean that we need to surrender or submit to it. I'm not suggesting that, but I just do want to explain what's going on. And yeah, so hopefully it's a help for everybody.
Does this transition, what you're referring to, does this go above and beyond simply the coronavirus, which is, of course, the biggest news story in 10 or 20 years, if not longer? Yeah. We are hearing about it constantly, all day, every day. The things you're referring to now, is it, as I said, above and beyond coronavirus, or does it pertain or link in directly to the coronavirus?
Coronavirus, I'm going to explain what the novel coronavirus is. All of these things are code, and they're actually a spell. This is divination that's being used. So these words are all very significant. And as we know from the rhinophalmic research so far, all the evidence that he's compiled from everywhere has failed to provide substantial evidence for a genuine pandemic. And his conclusion is that it is in fact a transfer of power, which is what all of this information that I've been sharing has been alerting people to. And so I want to go and explain how the words that are being used are highly significant.
Does this mean that the coronavirus, as a disease, as an illness, as a virus, as a risk, as a threat, is it really a smokescreen for something else? A hidden agenda being operated, manipulated by a hidden hand.
Yes, yes. I think that's really well put. The way that I would describe it is that it's the understory of the cover story. So the cover story is COVID-19, coronavirus, but there is an understory to this. So this is the narrative. They've rolled out a narrative, and everybody has to stick by that narrative. If they don't go by the narrative, they're in trouble. But what I want to do is decode, because the narrative is a code, it's a spin, it's propaganda, but it's even more than that. It's actually I would say it's divination, and the names and the dates and the places, all of these things are highly significant. So there's many layers to it. Of course, there's virologists and there's doctors and there's many scientists and people who are sharing that level of things. What I want to point out is that the power that has taken control is the Vatican, and Vatican, the word Vatican in Latin, Vati means divining and Can means serpent, and so the power that we're dealing with is the divining serpent, and so they don't come out and communicate openly about what they're doing. This is being communicated in code, and so therefore what I'm doing with News Decoder is decoding the communication so that we can understand what's going on.
When you mention the Vatican, are you saying they are the ones that have a controlling hand in this? Are you portraying them in a negative light or a positive light? Obviously the Catholic Church is huge, billions of followers, billions of devotees. What specifically are you saying is the Vatican's role in all of this?
Okay, I'm not going to, I don't want to, I just want to talk about the hard geopolitical facts. It's very hard to know where to start on this. It's a very, very big topic, but they have been planning for hundreds of years to regain the power that they lost back in 1798 when the Pope was taken captive. And they've used many agencies and mediums, which is something that I've been researching for many years. The United Nations, for example, is one of their instruments of power, and according to Avro Manhattan, a Vatican researcher and expert, he says that the Vatican created and controls the United Nations. And so we can just look at the United Nations as a very public, very prominent aspect of their power. So, and it is a vehicle to bring in their world government. So the United Nations, the whole concept of the group of nations all gathering together to make decisions, this whole concept is being replicated in the religious world, where they've created a world parliament of religions, they've created a world government, a World Parliament of Religions and a United Religions organisation patterned on the United Nations. So just to give you a bit of an idea of the kind of platforms and the agencies through which they're working. They also have agencies such as the Jesuits, who are well known for their work of infiltration and taking over governments and taking over organisations and systems and religions. And so they're very, very prominent in all of this.
Well, I think you've explained, at least on the surface, we'll delve deeper into the topic, but what you've explained there is quite concise, that there is a transition of power going on. You've got the United Nations. When you get everything unified, you lose your sovereignty.
Yes.
This is an overall agenda, and it's not just happening politically, it may not just be happening in religion, it could also be happening in terms of economics around the world.
Yeah, that's right, and it's happening. There are specific agencies that it is happening through, which I will talk about, and I'll talk about the way that the power transitioned, the very date that it happened, how it happened, and because we want to break this down. I don't have all the knowledge on this, it's so huge, but I'll share the little bit that I do know, and hopefully it will add to the volume of knowledge that people are gathering.
Okay, well that's been a very excellent introduction. For the listeners and viewers, we are going to expand on this topic. This is just a brief overview to let you know what we will be reporting on next. So we will cut here and we will move on to do a more in-depth examination step by step.
Okay,